Hey everybody, welcome back to those of you who've been hanging with me some time, and welcome to those who are new to my channel. I'm Adele Levine, intuitive and medium. Okay, so I did a little poll. I actually didn't do it here on YouTube. I did it on Instagram because it wasn't really a poll, it was just a question. What do you guys want me to cover? And we got aliens. Don't worry, I'm working on it. It's not going to be today, but I'm working on it and it should be good. And one of the other top was paranormal experiences that I've had, and I thought that was a really good one, but sorry, wah wah wah, that's not today either. I want to save that for October, right? Kind of feels more right. So I kind of pulled from some other suggestions, and one of them stuck out that I was like, yeah, I don't think I've covered this, and that is, what are trickster spirits? Yay, we came up with a subject for today. Hold on, I need to take a sip from my, this is literally called a hobo mug. It comes from the train museum. It was all the codes that they would put on the trains. Yeah, and talk to each other, kind of like emojis, right? It's almost like emojis today. I think it's a pretty cool mug, and it's a little bit of a private joke. And so I thought I kind of pulled this, didn't even really remember what it was. So I thought it was pretty funny. And it is fitting because I have a very serious announcement. I beat Red Dead Redemption 2. Boom. Yes, I did. And I loved the game so much. I'm not going to give anything away. It was so great. I literally cried. I mean, come on. This is a masterpiece of a game. Then I'm playing it again and just trying to see different decisions and where will that take me, which is what I believe in life, that every decision we make has a different rewind, a different outcome. And that's actually kind of a cool little point to throw out to you guys, that that's how I see the future, and that's how I do intuitive readings. Anyway, I get lost, and let's get back to what are trickster spirits. This is one of my subjects that I'm really surprised, and I realized I didn't cover very thoroughly, and it's one of those things that gets put out there so much misinformation. And most of the time I think people think trickster spirits are these spirits that are running around like, you know, literally kind of like these little gremlins and trying to trick people in this almost kind of dark way. Now, I understand that can be true, meaning like there are things that are not, you know, benevolent, but that's not really what I'm talking about, because that's kind of more rare. That's going again into the whole demon world, which I know people love, and people get, I know it sounds strange, people love the demon world, but I think people tend to get really drawn into that because it's exciting and you know, kind of fits horror films and stuff. But I'm actually going to explain it to you a little different, because that's what I do. That's who I am. Trickster spirits are literally like little bad boys and girls. That's what I like to call them. However, it's to another degree, kind of like it's upping it. And what the upping it is putting on almost like a mask. Kind of imagine it that way. It's coming in disguise as someone else. So for example, I'm a medium, as you know, and when I do medium readings, I'm very strict on details and confirmations, and people probably don't understand why I am so strict, but the real reason is two reasons. One is I want the person I'm reading for to know it's the spirit that they know, it's the person they know I'm talking to. The other reason is because of trickster spirits, and trickster spirits will almost disguise themselves as being that person. Now, I know you're asking, like, how do you know the difference? It's just kind of the same as in life. There's a different energy. The person feels different. it's not like, I know people think that, let's say a trickster spirit could like know all these intimate details about you and that other person. They really can't. It's just kind of like, I would say, imagine the internet times a million. So let's say you have a very close friend. Maybe they can grab some minute details, but not intimate conversations. You with me? So for instance, when I'm doing a medium reading, I'm not going for just the generalizations of things. I'm going for that very intimate connection. This is why I do this, because trickster spirits can say these very general things and things that are very obvious that can sound like a person, but they really usually don't. Almost to the point where I know people have gotten readings where it feels like that doesn't feel like the person that I think it is. And the same thing for Ouija boards, which comment down below if you want me to cover Ouija boards in October. It's something that kind of popped up, and I realized that maybe something, even though I don't work with them very much, maybe if you're interested in that, maybe you want a guide through that. Anyway, the point is, for instance, in Ouija boards, there can be a strong reaction. Some people believe it's completely, but some people swear that there's something talking to them. And the reason why you have to be careful, and this is just a little prelude to that video if I do it, is the trickster spirits. And the trickster spirits are masking themselves as someone else. And this can be the same just across the board. And what I mean by that is that if you're opening yourself up, if you're opening yourself up to energies, to the spirit world, it can even be the same for higher beings. And you got to be careful. That's why I'm not a big believer in just following people say, oh, I'm channeling, you know, so-and-so from the moon, from Venus or whatever. Is that even a thing? You know what I'm saying? People are like, oh, I'm channeling this person from this planet, or there's a spirit named Joe and he's talking through me and this is what he's saying. The reason why you got to be careful, because trickster spirits, and if you follow things like that, then of course it can sound really good. It can even sound like it makes sense, but you have no way to confirm anything. So if you're someone who's just going for it and you're not looking for confirmation, and that can even be personal, meaning like, let's say you personally trying to connect to someone on the other side, or if you're trying to connect to something that's like more of a higher being, if you are doing that and you don't have a confirmation, I know you're asking, Adela, how can I get a confirmation on these type of things? Well, that's where it comes into play, because honestly, trickster spirits aren't that interested in doing that for you. They're like little bad boys and girls who just kind of like to make havoc in people's life. They just think it's funny. It's not even as sinister as people think it is. I'm not saying it can't get that, but that's a whole nother video. What I'm saying is that for them, it's kind of more fun to it's kind of like prank calling someone. That's a good example. Does anyone do that anymore? No, people probably more troll people, and that's another kind of sort of example, but not as good as a prank call. It's like calling someone up pretending to be something they're not and just laughing about it. I guess that could be like trolling. But I'm saying what's important is that if you don't get the confirmation, if you don't say, okay, if this is so-and-so that I'm trying to talk to, please send me something that's personal between me and you, that's a connection, and you know the feeling, if it feels right and it feels like them. The problem is that sometimes we read into things too much. You got to be careful when you're looking for confirmations and signs that you're not looking for it in everything. You're not saying like, oh, I saw, a feather, in a feather, not in a feather shop. I was going to say in a shop, and it was just sitting there. But, you got to you can't read into everything. You can't say like, oh, I saw this number and I saw this and I saw that. You have to know if it's something that kind of really hits you strong and really feels in your heart like there's something trying to connect, and it's trying to confirm and give you something personal, and you can ask for those. Trickster spirits are not going to be interested in doing that. Where it gets tricky is, and I'm talking slowly, is when you kind of just blindly go with it and you're like, oh, I feel like this energy is talking to me and it's just talking to me all the time and I know it's fine and blah, blah, blah. And you're just going along with it. And it's just kind of like getting text from someone or getting a phone call from someone and you've never confirmed, like, is this really someone I know? Are they, even if you have a weird feeling, you don't just invite things to talk to you without confirming and having protection and all of those things. So trickster spirits are just creating havoc and creating chaos and confusion for fun. Now I know that sounds almost like harmless, but it isn't harmless, because if someone has really lost someone, if someone is really in pain, and most of us are, and this is something that they really need, it is awful to do this. And the reason why I say that, I'm not saying it just about the trickster spirit, but I'm saying it about someone who's not being responsible in relaying a message to you and saying that they're talking to someone who has passed, or even if you yourself are just kind of believing and opening yourself up to it, but you didn't give yourself a confirmation. Because sometimes, and I'm sure this may have happened, and let me again comment, let me know, feel free to comment period about all of this, but I'm sure it's happened where you feel like this is someone that you know, and all of a sudden it gets a little wonky, like really wonky. I'm not saying a little like you're not sure. I'm not talking about not trusting, not believing. That's different. I'm saying where it doesn't feel like them. And by the way, that goes for people who work with guides and things like this. Oh yes, because when I was a little bit more apt to, you know, as I might, well, let me back up. On this channel, I've talked about collective consciousness and that I believe guides are working in a collective whole and they separate themselves to work with us. But when I wasn't understanding that back in time, when I began this path, there were times where I could tell there was something trying to guide me that wasn't correct. And same goes for as a medium, when I wasn't learning how to block it off and put boundaries. There were times where I thought I was speaking to something that I could, you know, help somebody, and it didn't feel right. And so that's why feeling is such a big part of it. You know in your gut if this just feels not right. So trickster spirits are just simply putting on a mask. I want to do another, I do want to do another video on unmasking, because unmasking is a different subject. It's not just trickster spirits, but it is also kind of darker energy sometimes that you have to learn to unmask. And by the way, it can be also people walking around on this earth that you learn to unmask and see what's really going on inside. But trickster spirits are more about you understanding that you have to put protection. You also have to be very, very careful about who you're communicating with, how you're communicating, and making sure you're getting confirmations and validations. Trusting what feels right is different than if you, that is something, what I'm trying to say is that is something you're going to always work on. You're going to always be mastering and learning to trust. But understanding the difference between something that feels like, does this feel like the person I care about, or all of a sudden it has the energy changed. Now, the reason why I know this, and I just want to explain so that you can understand that everything I've learned from that other realm. I've learned in every reading I do, and this is how I've learned. And when I do readings, I can even tell, and even though I have a very staunch rule with the other side, one person at a time, and the person that you are asking to speak to only first, and then I can switch to someone else. But I can tell when sometimes they break that rule. And I don't mean a trickster spirit, I'm just saying another spirit, because I can see and I can feel they don't feel right, they don't sound the same, the energy feels different. So if you kind of look at it like this world, if you're talking to someone on the phone, or I don't know if you've experienced this, or even texting someone and all of a sudden the text seemed kind of strange, you can tell this just doesn't feel like the person I know. And maybe sometimes you don't want to go down to much with this analogy, because you can say to me, Adela, I felt that way even with the person I'm talking to. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying this is how you kind of get a first hint. But if you do protection, if you put protection around you, what I mean protection is, you know, putting warding and guarding and putting those things up before you're communicating with these spirits, and you're making sure you get the confirmation. This is how you tell the difference between what you feel is what you're looking to speak to and connect to and trickster spirits. So I hope that explains it. It's a big subject because I know people will have questions about other types of things, but please remember, this isn't a video about demons and about those type of darker energies. That is something I have done a video on before, but I can get into unmasking and what that means and all of that, of course. But I just want you to focus on this, because what I've noticed is that a lot of times people will say, oh, I live in this house and there's spirits just talking to me, and I know it's so-and-so who passed because I heard about it, and they're just talking to this. And I go, you don't know that. Because you don't know, if you don't know anything about the person, that's the other thing, and you don't know anything about who they are or anything that you can identify them with, it can trick you. So please take it, you know, respectfully. Respect the spirit world, respect the rules of the spirit world, respect the rules of the living world, and respect yourself and the process. And don't take this as, oh, this is a fun little ride. There is a reason that you check in and make sure when you're opening up. Thank you guys so much. I hope that helped. I hope that explained it somewhat. I wanted to announce that this Saturday, September 19th, I am doing a class that I've been so excited to do, because it is all about the spirit realm. It is understanding the other side. It's covering a lot of these things, including this one if people have a question on it, but it's giving people an understanding of how the other side works, what happens to us when we die. I know that I've done videos, but it's very different than teaching a class of a full rounded knowledge of what is the other realm that I've come to understand thus far. And everything I've learned through readings and everything I've learned through all the years of mastering and having the connection to the other realm, which I call home. I want to paint a picture, because I feel like a lot of times people see the other world like this world or the other side. And I really want to kind of do a more thorough class on what it actually is. And this will give a chance for people to also ask questions that you might have as well. So that's September 19th. You can go to my website, Adela Levine. I'm still offering 50% off my readings while we're going through these hard times. And that's with the code PEACE. And you can follow me on Instagram and on here. Please subscribe and like, and follow yourself, follow no one, follow that inner voice, and I'll see you soon.